Pod Street is an official affiliate of Birdland Sports. Visit birdlandsports.com/upodstreet and 10% of your order will go directly to supporting the pod. Use code UPODSTREET at checkout and you'll get 10% taken off your order. Now sit back, relax, and keep that beer cold because it's on to UPod Street. What is up, Birdland? Welcome to UPod Street. I'm some guy who still firmly believes that mustard is the best condiment no matter what the outcome of the hot dog race is. Jimmy Horn. And joining me, as always, is a guy who missed out on his condiment t-shirt yesterday, Jack Bain. Jack, how are you feeling that you can't support your condiment of choice?
Condiment of choice didn't win anyways. Big catch-up guy. So it was probably best that I didn't get a shirt anyways. Made a mockery of the condiment there on the field, which was electric, by the way. But yeah, we'll get through it together. We'll get through this, and I will be brave about the situation entirely.
Jack, when I heard you didn't get a shirt, I was thinking to myself, I hope he's really brave about this.
Yeah. Good news is I am.
That's good. We didn't have to cancel the show because of it. For those of you who are tuning in live, by the way, we are live streaming during the Orioles game. Orioles just went up 3-2 against the Red Sox. We're only in the bottom of the first inning here. Jack, do you have any initial thoughts on this game so far?
Initial thoughts. Wish I took the over on this game. Looks like both pitchers are having a tough run of it here in the first inning. But yeah, it should make for a good game.
Joe is reminding us that he's Team Relish. He is rubbing in his love of Relish, who had the victory yesterday. Relish is one of those. It was a fan favorite for a while because it was the underdog. No pun intended. And recently it's become the most popular choice. So you know what? I will not support Relish. I do not like things that are pickled. Therefore, Relish is not my condiment of choice. Well, but despite the exciting game that's going on, and despite all the exciting hot dog news that's been going on, we've had some exciting Orioles baseball the past few days, which ironically comes, Jack, right after you and I had an episode that I dubbed "Is This the Low Point?" Which one of my very close friends, who is a big Chicago White Sox fan, texted me as soon as he saw the release of that episode and said, "Hey, just want to know that if this is the low point, don't you worry, because the Orioles are coming to play the White Sox."
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was the low point. No more. So, Jack, should we get into this week in review, basically?
Yeah, I mean, you almost think to yourself, like, you look at the box scores and you say no notes, which for the most part is the case, especially towards the latter parts of the weekend, Memorial Day weekend, no less. Opening up in Chicago, Apple TV, Friday night. You're hoping for that offensive spark. Bunch of extra base hits. Gunnar hits a home run. He's been that guy the whole time, right? Spark plug. You need a big hit. That's your guy. He obviously produced in this one. Corbin Burns probably looked a little bit shakier than usual, but not a problem. Got through it, most of it. Cano actually charged with a blown save here. Probably would have been a hold if he just got through that inning. But charged with that blown save. And then Craig Kimbrell coming out really looked good in this one in Chicago. Nothing like a feel-good game against the White Sox to get the boys back on track.
Yeah, I mean, you skipped ahead there, I think. I think you went to game 2. Because I think they started on Thursday. No, they didn't start on Thursday. Did they?
Started on Friday.
No, they started on Thursday because it was a 4-game series.
Sure enough. Where am I?
You're on game 2. That's all. You just skipped ahead to game 2. That's
So
where
that was
Gunnar
game
Henderson.
2. So
Hey,
that was game
I'll say
2.
though, game 2. I mean, Gunnar Henderson, that home run, 17th. Is that tied for most in Major League Baseball at that point?
At that point, yeah, it was.
But not any longer. Well, like you
Correct.
said, you have money on him to homer today because he's due. I mean,
Gotta
5 days without a home run is a slump for Gunnar Henderson at this
gotta
point.
be 2. Well, backtracking to game 1 here. My apologies. It wasn't just Gunnar in this one. It was everybody.
It was a
At
lot
least it felt like it, anyways.
Yeah.
Mountcastle 4 for 5. Santander getting in there with the home run. Austin Hayes coming off the bench, 2 hits.
How about a Georgie Mateo home run, his
Yeah.
3rd on the year?
Why does Ben McDonald keep doing that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Call him Jorge. But yeah,
it does seem a little disrespectful to call a guy named Jorge Georgie.
Yeah.
Like I know Jorge is the Spanish version of George, but
yeah.
still.
Yeah, well, he had 3 RBIs in this one. Was 1 for 2 with 2 walks. But when he put the ball in play, he made it count. Everybody was firing the night, or on that night, excuse me. Obviously, don't know when this Friday game happened. In my mind, it didn't at all.
How about there is one outlier for not showing up that night, which goes to Jonathan Heasley, who we had discussed, and we're going to get into a lot of the pitching things later on in the show because there was just a lot that happened in pitching transactions over the last week. But Jonathan Heasley came up after the Means IL was announced. Had a great first inning. He had a scoreless, 8th inning. Brought him in for the 9th inning with the Orioles up 8-2, and suddenly he gives up 2 hits, 4 runs, and 2 walks. His ERA on the season in the major leagues is now 16.88. As some might say, Jack, a UPod Street certified, not good.
Not good. Not good at all. And, that was probably said by Orioles management as well, as he was then optioned.
Cano and Kimbrel did come in to close out that game as well. So game 1, game 2 had Cano and Kimbrel finishing out the games. Kimbrel looked pretty good in both games.
A breath of fresh air.
Yeah. I think, what is it? Is it today is his birthday? Maybe he was just getting hyped for his birthday.
Happy birthday, Craig.
So Orioles take the first 2 games in that series in Chicago. And we get in there another transaction that we'll talk about. The fact that Dean Kramer goes on the IL. And suddenly this Orioles rotation that was looking like, hey, this might be a 6-man rotation, suddenly goes, we're a 4-man rotation plus TBA. And so you get an Albert Suarez start in game 3. 4 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 runs, 2 walks, 3 Ks. Not a bad outing. All else to say about Albert Suarez. Followed closely behind by Keegan Aiken, who did not look as clean as Albert Suarez. Goes 1.2 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, no strikeouts. Not very good.
No.
Also, the Red Sox just tied it up. Grayson Rodriguez is not looking sharp to start this game.
Yeah. In the White Sox game, though, I tell you who did look good coming back up from AAA recently. Dylan Tate kind of really held it down in the bullpen right after Keegan Aiken really couldn't get much done. 2 1/3, no hits, 4 punch outs, no walks, which I think is the big one there. That was kind of his thing that got him sent back down to AAA, was walking guys. Whatever he had to fix down there, seems like he fixed it. Because I mean that's all we're gonna say about him through the rest of this episode.
I was gonna say Dylan Tate, common theme, comes out of the pen and pitches well. which is good to see. I mean, that's what we had out of him in 2022. He was a staple of that Orioles bullpen in 2022. We really missed him last year. We were really hoping he'd come back last year. He was basically deactivated for the whole season. Came back this year, and you thought if he can be 2022 Dylan Tate, that this bullpen will start to look really, really good. Was that Santa on the broadcast?
Perhaps.
Yo, there's a guy in a Santa costume at the Orioles game right now, which like it's not hot out, but it's not cold out either. And he's in a full Santa costume. Anyways. But really good to see Dylan Tate coming back out and helping this team. Here's the interesting thing about this game is this Orioles offense was basically dead throughout the whole game until the 8th inning, where they had 3 home runs from Ryan O'Hearn, Anthony Santander, and Jordan Westberg to suddenly have a 5-run inning where they were down 3-0, and then suddenly in the 8th inning, it's 5-3. Orioles go on to win.
Yeah, and this is one of those games that looked like, before last week's episode about being the low point. Like, this is one of those games where the long ball saves you against an inferior team. 0 for 4 of runners in scoring position, left 8 guys on. Just showing that, like, in some games the Orioles have been living by the long ball. And, when it works and you pull that win out, it's awesome. Again, like we've said before, not something you want to keep doing repetitively throughout the season, especially when you get into the summertime. But yeah, whatever works against the White Sox.
I mean, that's the thing is it's this crazy comeback and you're kind of like, wow, like look at this team, look how good they are. And then you kind of do remember like, oh yeah, this is the White Sox. Maybe we shouldn't have been in that position to begin with.
It's a brutal 7 innings at the plate.
Yeah. But regardless, win by any means necessary. Go into game 4, have a chance to take a 4-game sweep, which again is exactly what you should be doing against the Chicago White Sox at this point. And Jack, how about this guy? I don't know if you've heard of him, but his name is Kyle Bradish.
Yeah, if only he could get through the whole thing.
Those walks really killed him. But Kyle Bradish, what an outing. 7 innings pitched, 0 hits, 0 runs, 4 walks, 11 strikeouts, which I believe 11 strikeouts tied a career high that he had in his second game ever with the team against the Cardinals in 2022. Absolutely lights out. I mean, that's
he was matched by Garrett Crochet on the other side too, who was also looking just as sharp right up until that last inning. He also had 11 punch outs. Orioles were able to scratch a few across there in the 6th inning against him. But I mean, that's what you got to do, good arms out there. And I mean, Crochet was dealing through 5. Just keep chipping away.
Who did it for you? Who got that spark in there? Adley Rutschman.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good piece of hitting too. Really good piece of hitting for Adley.
10th home run on the year. Exactly what you want from basically your team captain. I know the Orioles don't have a team captain title like maybe the Yankees do or not, but I think at this point it's safe to say Adley Rutschman is basically your team captain.
Yeah, absolutely. Big leadoff game for Westberg here too, with 3 punch outs at the top of the order. But I mean,
after we begged for that to happen, after we said, hey, this is a good idea.
Yeah. But I mean, when you're going that good, I think he had 3 hits in the game before. How could you not give him a shot? And then, of course, the following day, he goes off again.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those baseball kind of things where it's on day, off day, on day.
I think it's also funny of note, at some point during this weekend, you texted me, Jack, and said, why is it that every single person that I insulted in the podcast has gone off this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gunnar Henderson had a certified not good play right there. Not that it was an easy play, but just dropped a pop-up in the outfield that was over his shoulder. Red Sox now lead the Orioles 4-3.
Oh my God.
Oh, I'm not saying I could make the play. I am saying that's a difficult play. But little bit of a Bermuda Triangle situation there.
Yeah.
Which is just right now. Grayson Rodriguez is getting 0 luck. He's already 42 pitches in, only an inning and 2/3 in. Red Sox have 4 runs on him. Kind of difficult to watch right now. So
I
we
didn't
won't
realize we were
watch.
doing play-by-play here.
we Colton Cowser just made a great play to get out of the inning. So good on that. Sorry, I get distracted, man. I get distracted.
You think this is a
But
mass broadcast?
no, I'd start legitimately calling Jorge Mateo Georgie.
Yeah.
No, but the Orioles go on to win this game 4-1, sweep the White Sox. All in all, great series for the O's. Go into yesterday's Memorial Day game, which was basically, Jack, I don't know if you realize this, it was basically a sold out game.
40,000.
Yeah, it was pretty close. I know I went to get tickets the other day, and there was like 4 sections available to get tickets.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. Awesome crowd. It was an electric crowd too.
The vibes were high in that crowd, and like, you know, we went to those playoff games last year. We went to opening day this year, and there's been a lot of like high vibe situations. Yesterday, like the crowd was just into it from the get go. Absolutely. I don't know if it was the condiment race T-shirts or what.
Yeah, I mean, putting up 11 runs certainly helps early on in the game too. I mean, get a run in the second, run in the third, and then 5 in the fourth. That's going to keep spirits high with a 7-run lead. Still, some folks still finding their seats. I mean, just a full circle. Everybody who was in the game just felt like they were hitting or at least getting on base in some capacity. Of course, the one guy the 2 guys in the game, Gunnar and Cowser, who have been 2 of our top producers this year, you know, can't really get in on the action. But guys like Mountcastle and O'Hearn and Westberg, who felt like he had a monster day. 514 runners in scoring position, much better than an offer, even though, you know, 14 at bats with guys in scoring position, you know, not great 514, but 11 runs. Stats don't lie. That's enough.
11 runs, and what I found was interesting is we've been talking about this so much, the live and die by the home run. Not a single home run for the Orioles.
Yeah.
How about Kyle Stowers with a 4 RBI day?
Yeah, Kyle Stowers looked real good. Had a double, and then I was really impressed with that Cedric Mullins triple too.
Yeah, it was one of those, like, Cedric Mullins and Jorge Mateo might be 2 of maybe like 5 guys in the league that can stretch a hit like that into a triple.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Ced went backside to the deepest part of the ballpark. That's all you got to do. Just get him running.
Yeah, hit it right into, what is that called? Elrod's corner or whatever, that little corner where with the newly pushed back wall.
Elrod.
I think it's Elrod. I think they named it after some bullpen coach that the Orioles had at one point.
I've never heard it called that until just now.
I think it's something like that. I might be getting the name wrong, but it's something along those lines.
Take your word for it.
I'm going to look this up after the show, and I'm going to tell you. I'm going to make sure I get it right. Or if anyone watching wants to comment what it's actually called, because I'm probably getting it wrong.
Pitching in this game, most part, pretty good. 10 Ks for the staff. 7 walks is where, you know, it gets a little dicey, but you look at who had the walks, and then you realize what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, so you had 3 walks from Cole Irvin, who overall pitched a very good game. 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 0 runs, 3 walks, 6 Ks. Did at one point with those 3 walks, I think that was all pretty much right in a row because he got out of a bases loaded jam at one point. And then this guy, Tierra Vieira? What is this name?
I think Vieira. I think Vieira is good.
Vieira, who the Orioles just traded for, which we're going to go into those transactions here, comes in and has a less than stellar first appearance with the Baltimore Orioles, where he goes 0 innings pitched, got 0 outs, gave up 1 hit, 3 runs, and 4 walks. And Jack, I think you and I were saying it, you know, before this, we got on the broadcast here, just like, even though you were up 11-0 to start that inning, there was this feeling around the ballpark of like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. that was not good. Couldn't find the zone even a little bit. I mean, he was throwing hard, like 99, almost 100-mile-an-hour sinkers. Not much else you can ask for there except for the strike zone. Um, I didn't even know that this guy was on the team until he walked out of the bullpen. I don't know if that's me being a bad fan or just not being tuned in, but he came out of the bullpen. I was like, all right, let's go.
I don't think it's a bad fan thing. I think it was just this was a very weird week in Baltimore pitching moves. I think that's going to transition us into this segment here of just what exactly has happened in the past week.
Yeah.
So starting with last Thursday, which if you're with us last Thursday, we talked about this on the pod. Started with John Means going to the IL with the left forearm strain. As we said, hope it's only 15 days. Hope this isn't an indicator of a career ender or the end of his stint in Baltimore, but does not seem good considering all the injuries he's had with Tommy John. The corresponding move with that was that the Orioles then recalled Jonathan Heasley. If you recall from what we just talked about a little while ago, Jonathan Heasley, not a great outing in his return to the ball club. That was the 1 inning pitch, 2 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, 0 Ks, ERA up to 16.88. So then you go into Friday and you have to think like, okay, Heasley's probably not going to be in this lineup anymore. But not only does that happen, but suddenly Dean Kramer gets placed on the 15-day IL with a right tricep strain, retroactive to May 21st. Jack, you're a coach. What is a tricep strain and how bad is it for a pitcher?
I mean, out of all the things that he could have been injured with, I mean, tricep strain is a pretty mild one, especially a little bit of news today that he was cleared to throw again. So I mean, that's just an overuse injury, probably tweaked a little bit. You could see him in the start before that he went on the IL that he was kind of shaking his arm out. Probably just a little bit of fatigue, tweaked it on one of the pitches. You know, it happens. Definitely not something to be worried about long term. But obviously, when it puts you in a pinch like that, it's tough to dance around the roster moves of somebody going on the IL, especially right after it happened to another arm in the rotation.
So the Orioles put Dean Kramer on the IL. Jonathan Heasley gets optioned to AAA Norfolk. And then 2 guys, Jack, that you and I on Thursday called for coming back from AAA make it onto the Major League roster. That is, of course, Nick Vespi and Dylan Tate. And I kind of thought to myself, Jack, I was like, you know what? Bad news is Dean Kramer's going on the IL. Good news is these 2 guys who I've been waiting to come back into the Orioles bullpen are suddenly back. There we go.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, Dylan Tate, several great outings just in the past 5 days.
Nails.
Absolute nails. And then Saturday, the most like under radar trade happens, at least for this year. I feel like the Orioles decide to trade right-handed pitcher Garrett Stallings. Jack, what do you know about Garrett Stallings?
Not a whole lot.
I know his name is Garrett Stallings, and I know that he was on the Orioles and he just got traded to Milwaukee. And I learned that via this trade.
Yeah. I honestly confused him with Jacob Stallings off the start there, the former Miami Marlins catcher.
Sure.
Sure enough, he's been in the Orioles system since 2021. ERA never been below 4 or 5 throughout the minors. Just seemed like he was organizational depth for the Orioles there. Probably a throw-in piece, or not a throw-in piece because he was the only piece. He would be a throw-in piece in a different kind of trade. Seeing what Vieira did kind of make sense that these guys were swapped because of kind of the output that they bring.
Yeah. I mean, so the Orioles received Tiago Vieira. That was his name, Tiago. I'm assuming that's a soft th or a
Yeah.
hard th. Whatever tie would be in that. Tiago Vieira. And right-handed pitcher, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that first name. It starts with an A. Rodriguez.
Nereus Rodriguez, the 19-year-old.
Sure. Yes, that.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me, Jack, is the Orioles put up like a welcome to Birdland graphic for Tiago Vieira. Like this is supposed to be like a big thing. Like we're supposed to get hyped for this guy.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you get a trade like that, like, I mean, they've done that in the past where kind of like under the radar guys will get a welcome in like that. He's 31, made his MLB debut in 2017. Bounced around a couple of teams. He was a Mariner, he was a White Sox, and then a Brewer, and then obviously now an Oriole. Never really had much success in the major leagues. 2018, he sported a 7.13 ERA across 17 and 2/3 innings, and then really wasn't back in baseball until this year, at least in the big leagues. So he's a longer big leaguer, I think, is probably why
Yeah.
he probably got an intro there.
Some people have said that they could see him as your typical Mike Elias pickup, where he, like you mentioned, he's got a really good velocity. His sinker was hitting 99 miles per hour. And if the Orioles can just get him to work on his command, he could be an under the radar, really good pickup, kind of a Ryan O'Hearn, Ynier Cano-esque pickup that Mike Elias has done in the past. But in his one outing so far with the Orioles, we have not seen that.
And like now that you say that like this could be a Mike Elias product, like the more I buy into that. I mean, the stuff's there. You just got to figure it out.
Yeah, this is what so there's one more transaction that happens this week that leads to this, and that was the Orioles option Nick Vespi back down to AAA Norfolk. So that answers our question: is does Nick Vespi have more options? Apparently, yes, he does, because they did it, and that made room to put Vieira on the major league roster. I don't know, Jack. I mean, I'm not Mike Elias. I'm not Brandon Hyde. I don't have access to all the information they have. But to me, I feel like it would have made more sense if Vieira had options, and I don't know that he does, if he had started in AAA Norfolk so that they could work on those things with him, work on that control with him to get him to where they think he will be as a under the radar pickup. And give Nick Vespi a little bit more chance in the major leagues to show his stuff. Because here's my thing. Nick Vespi was up for 3 days, and didn't pitch once.
Yeah, and it's like he's been nothing but nails and triple. He had a great appearance, fine appearance, in the one day that he pitched in the doubleheader against Cardinals.
Yeah,
this has got to be an analytics thing. It's got to be an analytics thing saying no Nick Vespi.
I guess the thing that gets me is every time we do see him in the major leagues, when he does pitch the one inning that he gets every 3 months or whatever, he's fine. He's fine.
He's
I
been
don't
at
get it.
least as good or better than anybody else in the bullpen, like in the lower tier guys.
Better than Jonathan Heasley. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
He's probably on par, if not better, than Keegan Aiken.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you
just gotta give him a shot, dude. Give him a
yeah.
shot.
Analytics are fine and all, but like results also matter.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, will Vieira, excuse me, like will he pitch again in the majors? Probably. Like we can't give his whole Orioles tenure here on that one start. And I hope he pitches great. And I hope he uses that sinker to the best of his ability. it'll probably keep Vespi off the team even longer. Obviously, he's got to wait 2 weeks on anyways since he was just optioned. But yeah, it's just like, does he need to prove it? How else can he prove it? I guess is what I'm looking for here. How else? You're not giving him a shot.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem that we've had on the hitting side is when they've brought up guys like Heston Kjerstad and stuff like that. It's like, well, they're not doing anything. Well, they're not doing anything because they're only coming in to pinch hit every third game or something like that. Guys
Yeah, and
can't
like
produce if they're not getting their shots.
I definitely understand like you want to keep rolling with the guys who are winning and winning games. But like at some point, like could we get something for these guys who just keep getting random at bats? Like could we trade them away and let them get playing time somewhere else and have something that's actually going to benefit us right now?
Yeah, some really good reliever to come in or something, or I don't know. I mean, we just went down to a 4-man rotation all of a sudden. Maybe we need another starter. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, like it leaves so many questions on it. Like I have all these questions on here about like what all these moves mean. Are we in a 4-man rotation right now, or is Albert Suarez our 5th man in the rotation right now?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Albert Suarez, I mean, they let him go 4 innings. I can't remember the pitch count off the top of my head. But if that's
4
like
innings, and there were 4 scoreless innings, but
yeah,
to be pulled after 4 innings, if his pitch count wasn't too high, that to me says, well, he's an opener.
he could be like a glorified opener, like let him go more than 1 or 2 innings, just see how far you get, ride him as long as he's doing well. And like the second that he gets in trouble, then you make the change. Like honestly, for a guy like Suarez, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, that's not a bad plan.
Yeah.
I think what sucks is I would prefer that plan if I don't know if Cole Irvin was back in the bullpen or something, like some other long reliever, because clearly Keegan Aiken they thought would be like, okay, they'll piggyback him with Keegan Aiken, and then Aiken didn't have it. Which that's the danger of Keegan Aiken. He has at times this year looked very, very good. And then he has at other times looked very Keegan Aiken-esque.
Right.
And I don't know anyone else in the bullpen that I would piggyback with him. Like, I don't know that we necessarily have a primary long reliever in the bullpen right now.
A healthy Tyler Wells.
Which, yeah, is Tyler Wells alive? Has anyone heard from him? That's a question I didn't have on here. Where is Tyler Wells?
Where missing? Like a wanted poster.
Yeah, put it on the milk cartons. Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man?
Because I thought it was only a 15-day IL when he went down, right?
It says he's still on the IL.
So it's got to be an extended IL now. It can't just be 15 days because it has to have been more than 15 days, right? Like my timeline can't be that off.
Yeah, no, usually they show. Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's been a month.
It feels like he got like 2 starts and then went down.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it was beginning or middle of April.
He went on the 15-day IL April 13th.
So 15 days later would have been April 28th.
In the month of April. And May is really coming to a close here soon. Yeah. So
it's literally May 28th right now. It's been a month since he should have been off the IL. So where did he go? Like, where is he? I'm like, that's a legitimate question. Where the heck is Tyler Wells? Is he doing rehab starts right now? Like, I haven't even heard that he's doing rehab starts.
No, in his transaction log, he's the latest one's the IL stint.
That's so weird.
Yeah, that is a weird one.
Because usually when you go past your IL stint, they say, okay, now it's a 30-day IL stint. Now it's a 60-day IL stint. Like they usually keep extending it.
Well, stay tuned. We're following this story as it develops.
If there's any leads on the whereabouts of Tyler Wells, please send them to UPod Street.
Yeah. So I mean, in light
or the Baltimore Orioles.
Right. In light of these guys being injured, I think it's safe to say that Dylan Tate's probably going to be on the team for the foreseeable future.
That was one question I had because I feel like he's one of the few guys that still has an option or two left. Yeah, and I don't want them to play this up-down game with Dylan Tate, especially if he's performing well. Like, if he's playing well, keep your hot hand. Keep him there.
And that's probably what they will do if he keeps going the way he is. I mean, I feel like the only reason that they probably used one of his options a couple weeks ago is because he wasn't as sharp as he is
Mhm.
now and as he was previously, like in 2022. So they give him that time in triple if you have the options. But now that he's firing like this, like he's like Felix Bautista esque. Like after that
Mhm.
one like White Sox game, I mean 2 1/3, no hits, 4 punch outs. That's length too that you're getting out of
Oh
him.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's the thing. Is very few guys. I feel like very few guys in our bullpen are length guys.
Yeah.
Like CNL Perez has been coming out, and I feel like for the most part, CNL Perez has been pitching like second half of last
Hmm.
year. CNL Perez,
They're
like
just
he was
using
he
him
was
wrong.
great yesterday.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal.
Yeah. They're like
Um,
that's part of using him correctly. Is like you're not getting him too tired, and I think that was part of the issue last year. So he
yeah,
was getting a ton of innings there in the first half.
but he's
Um,
he's but he's only a 1 inning guy.
right.
Like you're not going to use CNL Perez for 2 innings, and when you
Right.
do, you're on nails. You're like,
Yeah.
how's this going to go?
Yeah.
Um, Danny Coulombe, you can kind of stretch into like 1 1/3,
Yeah.
but
But
you
like
don't.
same thing. Like you
Yeah,
don't want to
same
like
thing. When you
stretch
get
him
in
out
that
to like
second
one.
inning, you're kind of like, I don't know
Yeah.
about this. Craig
No.
Kimbrell certainly not giving you 2 innings. He's been a one
Heard
inning
no.
guy for a long time in his career.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's again like, I mean, I guess Keegan Aiken's your 2 inning guy, but he didn't like that. Sometimes can work, sometimes it doesn't. Like I just if you're gonna get 2 in the third inning out of Dylan Tate, that's huge for this bullpen.
And
Absolutely huge.
I will say a good long reliever is hard to come by in the major leagues. Like you can look at some of the best teams in the league and they have the same problem as the Orioles. Like they'll get some outings that just are not great. It's hard to come out of the bullpen and pitch 2+ innings for sure.
Yeah. Um. So here's a question for you, Jack. John Means, Dean Kramer, get healthy, get back in the rotation. Do the Orioles let someone go? Does someone go back down? What happens there? Is this Vieira is literally just here for the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean I don't know. It's tough to do the same song and dance every time that we pose this question to ourselves. Like, what's going to happen when this four spot in the rotation, 5 spot in the rotation, like they become a competition again. Like, what's going to happen? I have no idea, and I don't even want to try and guess this time around. I've learned my lesson. But
We asked
obviously,
too many
D.
questions and guys got hurt. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. Like I do think that obviously Dean Kramer's going to come back before Means, and he will get that spot back. It's going to be somebody probably in the bullpen that gets the boot. Um, once again, just the same revolving door. Dean comes back again. Somebody's getting the boot. Not sure who.
But
When Means
so
comes
so
back,
here's the
though,
question though: if the only guy in the bullpen that has options is Dylan Tate right now,
whew,
you know what I mean? Like, who are you willing to give up? I would say Vieira. I don't know if Vieira. We've said it. We don't know if he has options or not. But like, you also did just trade for him. So like, did you just trade for him for 2 weeks? Like, what's the story there?
yeah. But like, I mean, you look at the optics of the trade. You didn't give up a lot.
True.
You're okay with if you have to kick him out of there and send him back down to triple. We'll say no options according to roster resource. So that again would have to be some sort of DFA situation, and a guy who throws 98-mile-an-hour sinkers probably is going to get claimed on waivers.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see him, and I don't see too if he's 31 years old.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily see even if he clears waivers, accepting a minor league contract with those.
right. Other guys
He's,
with options, Keegan Aiken's got one.
it's hard because he was a hot hand at the start of the summer or at the start of the season.
Yeah,
And recently it's been getting colder and colder.
yeah,
Won't go as far to say as he's completely cold yet because he is still due for a good inning, maybe every third game or something. But it is getting closer to what we come to expect from Keegan Aiken.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's tough. I mean, we got Three guys on the 15-day: Kramer, Means, Wells, and Bautista, obviously on the 60-day. It's just a lot of banged up arms.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Just a
is. It
lot of
is a
banged
lot of.
up arms.
I mean, but that's the important of depth too. That's been
Right.
the preaching point of the Michael Elias era is like we are building up as much depth as humanly possible. That's
Absolutely.
that's why you have guys like Nick Vespi in AAA. It's just the fact that you have so much depth that guys that could be on major league rosters anywhere else are in your minor league system, and they
Yeah.
can come up at a moment's notice if there's an injury.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's even harder with these timed injuries because the Orioles only have what, 2 off days in June? I think I
It's
remember seeing.
something ridiculous like that. It's like September last year. Remember September? We had that brutal
Mhm.
like end to the season where we had like 17 games in a row or something
Yeah.
ridiculous like that. Yeah, June is looking like that. Hold on, let me pull it up here.
Yeah, and I mean, with
Orioles.
with that being said, like you're gonna have to piece it together through at least the first week in June until those guys are or can even come off of the 15-day. Um, so when you get to that point, like this will probably be the same core group of pitchers that you run out for the next week until you get into like June 10th, and then you kind of have some reinforcements come back.
Okay, so in June, which June is on Saturday, if you didn't know, the Orioles go. They're in the middle of a series in Baltimore against the Tampa Bay Rays. They then go to Toronto to play a 4-game set against the Blue Jays. They then go to Tampa Bay to play a 4-game set against the Rays. Come back home to play a 3-game set against the Braves. Then play a 3-game set against the Phillies, and then have an off day on June 17th. Following that off day, they don't have a single off day for the rest of the month of June. They go to New York to play the Yankees, go to Houston to play the Astros, come home to play a 3-game set against the Guardians, and then play a 4-game set against the Texas Rangers.
And
Not only is that a brutal schedule, just like the fact that they only have one off day, they don't get a
good
break
teams,
from
good
good
teams,
teams. My
great
God, that's
teams.
a playoff schedule right there. You kidding me?
Yeah, I
I
don't
mean, the
want to play
Astros are
Braves.
the only ones where I go like, well, okay, the Astros aren't playing well this year, but who knows when the Astros might suddenly flip a switch and be good again, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, like that for like April was brutal for the Astros, and like they're starting to pick it back up. I mean, they're 24-30 now, but like they were like 15 games under 500 back in April.
Yeah.
So like they're getting better. um, Not playing great against 500 teams, but I think only what the Rays above 500. No, so the Rays and the Jays are the worst teams in that schedule.
And even if they are the worst teams, they're still division rivals. They're
Yeah.
still going to play you hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh my God. Like I literally, I look at this month and I go, is this a playoff schedule? That's how
Could be.
ridiculous that is.
Could be. Yankees Orioles could be ALCS preview.
Yeah, absolutely. Hell, Rangers Orioles could be.
Yeah. I
Guardians
mean,
Orioles could be.
Guardians
Like,
are 36-18.
yeah, the Guardians are really
What?
good right now.
Jeez.
Like quietly so. Quietly good.
Yeah,
Like
it's
up
just
there
because
with
they've
one of the best records in baseball.
won 9 out of their last 10.
It's absurd.
Good for them. Good for the fighting Josh Nailers.
I like that. I like that. I'm stealing that. That's my thing now. Oh man. Well,
We've certainly previewed June, talked
yeah.
about a pretty good week of Orioles baseball. Grayson Rodriguez in this game happening right now live on Tuesday. He's tied his career strikeout high.
Has also given up 4 runs though, which is not great.
Well,
But Kyle Stowers getting into the mix. Just had a base hit. Love to see
yeah,
that from
so
Kyle Stowers.
hopefully the Orioles can pull this one out against a division opponent. Always nice to take a couple games against the Red Sox. Um,
The big thing right here is if the Orioles win tonight, that's 6 games in a row. and a 6-game winning streak is nothing to sneeze at.
No,
I'll say this. I went into yesterday's game really not expecting much, mostly because I was like, winning 3 games in a row is really hard.
for sure.
Winning 4 games in a row, getting a 4-game sweep, even harder. You know what's harder than that, Jack? Winning 5 games in a row. And it just gets harder from there. We could do this math all the way to infinity, but it just gets harder as you go along. So I don't know if they're going to pull this out or not. Maybe they're due for a loss. I hope not. But it would be nice to secure the the series victory tonight, and not have to take it to a rubber match tomorrow.
Probably bring the season series against the Red Sox closer.
Did we swept them first, right?
Yeah.
Was that a 4-game sweep or a 3-game sweep?
It was 3.
3-game sweep. So we're right now 4-0 against them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, with the new schedule, the new balanced schedule, you're not playing your division opponents as often. Like, yeah, once you start to get to that 5-0, it is getting pretty close to securing the season series.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, by the way, this is off topic. I know we're about to log off here, but what do you think of the new balanced schedule? We've had 1 year of it. We're now in year 2 of it. Do you like the new balanced schedule or no?
Very much so. Very much so.
You very much like it?
I love it. It's one of those things where you get to see your team play against everybody, which for me personally, more exciting to see new faces rather than seeing Vlad Guerrero and Bo Bichette every other week. So I like that aspect of it. I think it gives teams a honestly more fair chance to win baseball games. It's a blessing that we don't have to play the Yankees as many times as we used to this year.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. We're kind of the same thing. Like, I like seeing new teams in the ballpark.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna get to see the Padres this year.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the Padres in Camden Yards since 2019. I went there for
the last time the Braves were in town.
Ooh, I think that might have been right after COVID. Might have been a 2021 game.
Yeah. I mean, it's just more fun. You get to see stars, obviously Acuna just tore his ACL, but you see the Matt Olsons, right? I mean, the Padres see Machado, who's not really here much anymore. Just some cool names, good baseball players in general.
I think the biggest thing for me is the like you said, the competitive balance in the division. The fact that, the Orioles, I think for many years, were made to look a lot worse than they actually were, just because they were playing the Yankees and the Red Sox so much.
Right.
And I'll say this, the only people I've heard complain about the competitive balance schedule, Yankee fans. They're the only ones that complain because they love beating up on other teams in the AL East and being able to secure their division by beating up on teams within the AL East. Now they got to play everyone. Now they have to play the Dodgers and whatnot more often. And the Phillies. The Phillies have the best record in baseball right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna have to play them too. So you know what? I am 100% here for the new competitive balance schedule.
Yes, sir. Tuesdays. Probably the new day moving forward here. Just works for both of our schedules. The best, a little earlier too. Try to work around, obviously when the Orioles games are going, so we don't get play-by-play from Jimmy again. But
you don't like my play-by-play? You don't think I could be up there with Kevin Brown?
It's just the flow, the flow of the show.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right, man.
Well, guys, we'll be back here next week. As always, let's go O's.
Thank you, everybody.
You've been listening to UPod Street, an Orioles podcast by fans for fans. UPod Street is an official Birdland Sports affiliate. Directly support the pod by purchasing UPod Street or other Orioles merchandise using the link birdlandsports.com/UPod Street. Get 10% off your order when you use the code UPodStreet. Follow us on Twitter @UPodStreet and @JackBain20. UPod Street is also on Facebook and YouTube, and you can listen to the show on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. On whatever platform you listen, please subscribe, rate the pod, and leave a review. If you leave a review, we may even read it on the show. We'll see you next week, and of course, let's go O's.